It's the intensity of exposure. Let's look at the process of what's happening. Let's look at the animation while I'm talking. You see the perceived threat and the relative duration. And we know that if you're afraid of spiders and you're showing me a spider, if you show me a spider, there's going to be an increase in anxiety. But that's not a spider, but say it's a toy spider. Think like an amygdala. You're showing me a toy spider, and it's a toy spider. I'm afraid of spiders, my anxiety will go up. And my perceived threat, oh my God, it's perceived and it's threatening. And anxiety, therefore, will rise. But after a while, the limbic system will figure out that that's just a toy or just a black object. That's not a real spider. So over time, the perception of threat will get slowly corrected, and accordingly, the anxiety will reduce. So let's do it again on a different hand. Ooh, the amygdala kicks in again. Perceived threat, not sure, anxiety, But I remember as an amygdala last time, that's what happened. So the anxiety and the perceived threat is not going as high, and it reduces and more rapidly. And as you do it over and over and over again, you get a flat line. That's what we call functional exposure. Functional exposure is over time, you stop seeing things or perceiving things as threatening. What accompanies that is anxiety. Note that I'm not talking about anxiety, I'm talking about perceived threat on the graph. It's because for decades, I and other researchers and trainers would write perceived anxiety, but it was sending the wrong message that anxiety was relevant. And for decades, researchers were trying to isolate how much anxiety do we need to instill or the client has to endure, and for how long. And studies showed over and over again that the intensity of anxiety is not predicting treatment outcome. The intensity of anxiety felt during exposure is not a good predictor of treatment outcome. Nuances now. If there's no anxiety, there's no impact, there's no outcome. So it's not a linear relationship. If there's no anxiety, there's no improvement. But we see anxiety more as an indicator, something that reveals that you're processing perceived threat. And it's the perceived threat that matters. So if my level of anxiety rises to 40, and I'm still perceiving things as threatening, it could lead to treatment outcomes that are successful.